Hi, I'm Morgan Dreamus with RT Book Reviews, and I'm sitting next to Courtney Cole, new adult author, who completely wowed audiences and readers with If You Stay. Now, this is a very, very intense novel that you wrote. And we were just talking about one of the scenes that drives you in, one of the first scenes where you have your hero, Pax. And I say hero lightly at the beginning because he's actually in the middle of ODing on drugs when we first meet him.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose. It's not a suicide. He's just, he's a partier, and he doesn't really have any self-defense mechanisms, and he just dives into wherever he wants to go.
Yep.
And that was kind of a controversial, like after the fact you look back on it and to get to see, you know, people's responses, and that gets a lot of attention.
So we're going to start with this.
I know. So now I'm going to start with it too.
Just dive right in there. Like I was telling you a second ago, it didn't seem like that big of a deal to me. But that, since I've been here at BEA, that's all I've heard is, oh my God, I can't believe you started it out like that. Mm-hmm. Well, I was always taught, start your story where the story starts. And to me, Pax's story should start right where he's like on that precipice of the bottom, you know, like his bottom at that point. And it doesn't get much further down than that, so.
No, and especially because he's privileged.
Yes.
So if he didn't necessarily hit this low,
yep,
there's no saying where else he could have gone because he has the money and the time.
He has the money to do anything. He could literally do whatever he wanted, you know, but he just didn't have really any desire to do anything except disappear. So
now we have a bit of a role reversal because a lot of times in reading traditional YA or new adult books or romance, it would be the guy who saves the girl,
right,
but your heroine saves him.
Yes. She
finds him in his car, literally ODing,
yep,
and she performs CPR on him. She saves his life.
Yes, she did.
What did you want to communicate with that to the reader by Mila jumping in and being able to do that?
Well, with Mila, she is not like this very assertive, you know, she goes about business. She minds her own business. She's an artsy, quiet, gentle person. And she's so good on the inside. Like, I really wanted Mila to be like this light in the world. And when she saw him, even though he was, you know, throwing up and covered in orange goo, she knew what she had to do, and she knew what would happen if she didn't. So she didn't even think about it. She just went for it. Where I probably wouldn't. I would have been like, sorry.
Oh, God.
I'll call for you. Just a minute. Hold that thought.
But Pax, in a way, Pax isn't the only one that she saved because she does have a sister.
Yes.
that really relies on her because their parents are gone.
Well, yeah, Maddie's her older sister, and actually Maddie has always been the caretaker. But because it's the two of them, they're everything for each other, you know, that they're all they have, basically. So.
And you write that relationship really interestingly because, like, as I have sisters, and when I'm going through issues in my life and I'm facing something, they're on my speed dial. They're the absolute first people I get a hold of to walk me through it.
Built-in best friends.
Built-in best friends. I love that. And that is a relationship that really carries through this novel. Is she does have the solid foundation. Mm-hmm. Mila does have that solid foundation where Pax, he's really adrift. He lost his mother when he was very young, and this really set him on the path towards self-destruction, and he doesn't have that foundation. Was that hard for you to kind of take everything away from him in a way?
I thought it was necessary in order for him to be the character that he is. He had to lose everything. I mean, there was no way that you could get to that point and have a support system or have, to me, you know, I've never been in that situation, but I just thought that I had to do that. And there's, as a writer, there's so many times when you hate to do something to someone. I'm like, oh no, I'm crying, you know, but you have to do it. And that's kind of, you know, I loved Pax. I was in his head so much at that time, and I just hated it, but hated to have to do that to him. But it worked out, and I had to.
But, like I said, he might be a little dubious of a hero in the beginning, but he really comes through.
He does. And
he does.
And that was the point, was that I had to give him room to grow. And with Pax, I gave him a whole heck of a lot of room to grow, you know, and so... And
he does. He really proves himself to be, you know, a person that you want to know. Like maybe at the beginning you don't, but then he cleans up his act and he says, no, this is not who I want to be.
Yep.
I can see a future now. I can see something that I want to go after. And it really motivates him to go through a lot of changes.
Right. He saw something, that's key actually, that he saw something that was worth it. And, you know, people I've seen in reviews or whatever, sometimes people will say, well, you can't change somebody. Mila didn't change him, and she wasn't trying to change. He wanted to change because he saw what life could be like. Like, he saw, you know, Mila and her life, and he wanted that, you know, and he gravitated towards her, and he knew that if he didn't change for the better, that was gone, you know.
And even after he starts the change, Mila has, you know, she doesn't necessarily, it's not like she's like, oh, okay, now we're all good. Like there's still, she has to deal with her trust issues and letting someone in, because she can be very vulnerable too. So you really, you have these two characters that don't necessarily know how to have a healthy relationship, but they're willing to work on it to get there.
For sure. And you know, with Mila, one thing about her is she's got like quiet strength. Like I didn't want her to be this like warrior woman, you know, out, you know, she's quiet and a gentle spirit, but I just wanted to show that people like that are strong too, you know, in their own way. And so that's why I made Mila that way.
Okay, so let's talk about your follow-up book.
Yep.
And I should have mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it now. The series name is Beautifully Broken.
Yep.
That is the best name for a series, because your characters, that's exactly what they are.
They are, yeah.
And it's like, but not broken in the not fixable, broken in the let's put these pieces back together.
Right.
So,
because who's not broken in some way?
Right.
You know, that was kind of my thought behind the whole series is everybody's broken somehow. I mean, like in this day and age, you know, your parents are divorced or, you know, somebody that died, you know, everybody's broken to a certain degree. And that's why this series came about.
Okay, so your second beautifully broken couple, we have Maddie,
Yeah.
and we know her from the first book.
Maddie, she is totally opposite from Mila, where she is strong, she is outspoken, she's kind of an ice bitch, actually. Like, people think that, but she's really, I mean, she's vulnerable on the inside. And Gabriel, Pax is over here. Okay, Pax is this broken bad boy. Gabriel's over here. Gabriel is like his complete opposite. He is, he's an ex-Army Ranger, and
military. That's so cool.
Yeah, military. He's this alpha badass hero, basically. And but he has an issue, and he's broken and vulnerable too. But he's so strong and big and alpha that you just don't know it. And so he's got this secret.
Well, it sounds like they both have very big personalities.
They do.
Do they butt heads a lot because of that?
Yes, they do. In fact, when they first, you know, I just don't know how much I'm supposed to tell you. My publicist is like, no.
No, stop.
They are. I mean, like, they butt heads, but they're still drawn together so much. And it's like, they know. I mean, she knows that he's going to hurt her, but she just can't help but want him anyways. That's the kind of story I love anyway. I mean, it was so fun to write it.
Is there another book possibly that we're going to get in the series, or is this just going to be this? Oh, so there's
definitely three. Okay. Yeah, definitely three.
And did you write it as a trilogy from the beginning, or did it just come as the character? Oh, so you always knew it was going to be a trilogy.
I always knew it was going to be a trilogy.
And when we read the second book, do we know who's going to get the last one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be apparent, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to say at the end, you know, book 3 will follow blank.
With the story.
Fill in this blank.
Excellent. Well, tell me a little bit before this is really the series that broke you out and made you a bestseller in the industry right now. You are such a hot commodity. Like, teens will run to the bookstores to get your series. It's so great. But you were writing before this. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe what you wrote before and why you think Beautifully Broken was that breakout that really put you onto the bestseller list?
You know, I was writing before. I started out in YA. I wrote some niche books, YA mythological paranormal stuff called The Bloodstone Saga. And that's a very, very niche market. And so it has a following for people who like mythology and YA. And then I wrote some YA contemporary. And then I wrote some women's contemporary. So I kind of dabbled, but I think I really found my voice when this is the thing. Like, in YA, which is where most of my work is at, you toe this line. It's like an unspoken line, and some people have a line that is further out than other people, but like there's always this line in YA, and you're like, should I cross it? Should I cross it? And I always felt like I shouldn't. Like, I just didn't want to. I mean, I have a daughter. She's 10, but I just didn't want her to read something. I just never crossed that line. Let's just say it that way. And with Pax's story, when it came into my head, I said, you know, there's no way I can do this story justice unless I'm also blessed too. I was just telling some other people this morning. I'm blessed, whereas I have 2 teenage sons and I have a husband who, especially my older son and my husband, they tell me what men really think. And my older teenage son, more so than I really want. But I know that sometimes when people write male characters from their point of view, I look at that and I read it and I'm like, that's not what a man would think, you know? I mean, like, he's not going to talk about your creamy, luscious breasts. I mean, he's going to, you know, say what it is. And that's why Pax is the way Pax is. And I really think that I don't know. I think that new adult is just my voice. I think I just hit my sweet spot for my voice. Plus, the industry, I mean, like, it was kind of a perfect storm. Like, you know, the industry wanted more of this kind of story. I happened to have this story that I wanted to tell, and it just worked.
It was like the perfect storm.
Everything
came together.
It was a perfect storm.
Well, I know online you are super active. You blog, you are on social networks, and for you it's all about the fans, it's all about the readers.
Right.
You want to hear from them, you want to hear what they love, you want to hear what didn't work for them, you just have these conversations with them, and I think that is so special for them because a lot of your readers, you know, are teens or even, you know, new adults, and it's hard to like maybe find yourself, and through your writing, you really give a voice to people that might not feel like they have it. And so as an author, what do you get out of having that conversation with your fans?
Oh man, what don't I get? Because, you know, it's like, I was just talking to my editor yesterday about how sometimes when an author has a world in their head, okay, I know how the entire story is going. I know how it's going to play out. But when I get that onto paper, sometimes I don't convey that as well as I should onto the page because I know what everything's happening in here, and I don't realize that I didn't convey it as much on the paper. And so I'll get these little notes from my editor. You need to convey more of this on the page. Okay, that told me a lot because I didn't do a good enough job. Well, the readers kind of do that for me too. Like, they would say, I want more of, you know, this, or, you know, I want more of a bad boy, or I want more. And I'm like, oh, okay, well then good, I'll give you what you want because I wasn't doing it before, you know? So it's very helpful to me because, you know, writers as a whole, like, I can't speak for every writer, but all the writers I know, we get into like our little eco bubbles or our writing caves, and we live under a rock, and we don't pop our heads out that much. And so when we hear from our readers, you know, I want to hear this, or I want more of this character. Can you give, you know? And when we hear that from like a lot of readers, we're like, oh, there's something to that, you know. You know, we can't just, if one reader says, you know, I want a book about this secondary character. If only one reader, you know, it's the voice, kind of like the voice of the people. Like, you know, if a whole bunch of people say the same thing, there's something to it, you know, so it's very helpful.
It seems like it almost, for you, it can almost like spark that creativity too. If you start hearing it, you're like, oh, what a
great idea.
And kind of spark you into like a whole maybe new direction.
Yeah, it's like a guiding light kind of type thing, and you're like, oh wow, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, for sure.
Well, if we're getting a third book in Beautifully Broken, that means you are going to be continuing with the new adult. Do you see, since this is where you really feel comfortable with your voice, do you see your career, you know, not saying you're never going to write anything else, but is that probably where you're going to focus on for a while?
I think it is, because I really think I found my groove in it. Like, I just think it fits my voice. Excellent. I don't know if I'm just like an overgrown child. I don't know what it is, but...
Well, if you're an overgrown child, so am I, because your books are fantastic.
Thank you. Gosh, thank you. I'm going to leave with this really big head today.
You should. Well,
my husband's going to be like, I can't live with you now.
I can't even take the flight home back with you. It's too much. Well, we're here in New York. You said this is your first time in New York. You're here for Book Expo America. And that's got to be really exciting for you because you're meeting fans and other people in the industry that are having you sign and coming up to you and wanting to know more about your stories. That's got to be a lot of fun.
It's amazing. It is so humbling. And, you know, when people come up to you and they know who you are and, you know, can I have your, it's humbling. It's just surreal. It's still surreal to this day. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever get used to it. I could be Stephen King someday and probably still like, oh my God, you want me to sign that? Okay. You know, and cry. That'll be me.
Well, here, we'll meet back here in a few years as your career continues to take off. We'll meet back here and we'll talk again and watch. You'll be like, yeah, book signing. I can take it or leave it.
I hope not. I hope not. You know, I'm just this little farmer from Kansas, and I kind of hope I stay that way a little bit. I don't ever want to be really jaded. I don't know. But yeah, I'll come back here in 5 years and you'll be like, you're not the same person, lady. You used to be so nice.
Well, I think you're very nice.
Thank you.
And it was so nice meeting you. Like I said, If You Stay is out now, so you can definitely get that.
Yes.
And If You Leave is going to be coming out in August, so everybody should mark that on their calendars because it is going to be awesome.